Welcome to Mauer Woodworking. I'm Walter Mauer. Today I'm going to be starting a brand new project. I'm going to be building a cherry kitchen table. Dimensions are going to be 42 inches square, 30 inches high, and there will be an accent black walnut in each of the legs. So let's begin this project. So I'm starting out with a 6/4 cherry. This is raw wood that I got from a local mill. I'm cutting this into manageable pieces so I can begin the top for the kitchen table. So after cutting the pieces of cherry, I'm running this through my planer to smoothen out both sides, make it a little more manageable. Alright, so I had all three pieces, or actually all six pieces together. I put a clamp over just to test it out to make sure everything fits really well, and it does. So I split it out into three sections. So there's three planks here, and then there's 4, 5, and 6 over here. Anyways, so basically what I want to show here is the basic glue-up process. So what I do is I put 3 clamps on the bottom. I'm going to have another 3 clamps on the top to tie everything together. I'm going to do the one set here, the second set over there. Sped up the video at this part here. This is the glue-up process. I'm working on the top. As you can see, I'm using Dominoes. It doesn't provide any strength. The glue handles all that. It just helps with the spacing when you tie everything together. It makes it a lot easier so things don't shift. So as you can see here, I actually did 2 sets for the top because I didn't want to do all 6 and glue the top together. I want to try to avoid any kind of bowing that could occur if you got something too wide and only like 1.5 inches thick. And here's where I'm getting ready to send through one set through the oscillating belt sander. All right, so I glued the 2 sections of the table. Got 4 clamps on the bottom and 4 clamps on the top. This is to protect the sides of the table before I do the final cut. And I also have the cut-right paper to prevent any of the glue adhering to the post and probably staining also the cherry also. So it's what I'm doing right here is taking these 4 boards of cherry and I'm running through my joiner to get a perfectly 90-degree angle. This is all in preparation for building out the legs. The legs are going to have 2 pieces of cherry, and sandwiched in between there is going to be a 1/4 inch black walnut to get a nice stripe through there like my prototype has. And here I'm just running it through the planer to get almost to the exact thickness that I want for the legs, but I need to have enough left over for the final sanding process. All right, so this is how I'm going to glue up the legs. This with the strip of the black walnut, sandwich in between 2 pieces of cherry. The black walnut is 1/4 inch thick, and each of the pieces of the cherry, I got a little over 1 inch. I'll plane it down afterwards. You want to leave yourself a little room for you don't want to go exactly the width and the length that you want. You always want to oversize it so you can streamline that towards the end. So I got 2 sets right here. I got this one over here and this one right here. And then afterwards, after it dries 24 hours, I will then, cut it to the size that I want. And to get basically the effect that we agreed upon with the customer with the black walnut stripe going down the middle. And then I'll have to make a jig to taper this later on. So here's one set of the legs that I glued up. So the black walnut sandwich in between 2 pieces of cherry. So like you may have seen in many of my videos, I end up marking up the surface that I need the sand. I'm going to go through multiple grits, and what you don't want to do is have peaks and valleys when you're sanding. So this way you know exactly how much you're sanding off. Once the pencil mark disappears, you stop sanding, you move on to another section, and you continue that process for multiple grits of sandpaper. All right, I'm going to round the corners off here. I got 220 on this side. This is the top part. And I rounded the corners here with the jigsaw. But then I want to give a nice profile along the edge here. I haven't sanded the bottom of it, but I want to get this top part trimmed off and sanded. And then flip it over and then go through all the grits from starting with 100 and going up to 240. Okay, cut these 2 1/4, and they just look too big to me. I think, let me turn this way, so at least you can see a contrast there. It's just a little too thick. Even though I'm going to taper this here, it's just too big. So I'm going to go with 2 inches. This is a inch and 3/4. This is too small, and I think 2 inch would be better. So what I'll do is I'll plane on each of the sides till I get down to 2 inches all the way around. I've actually got 5 of these. Only need 4, but in case I mess one up or something goes wrong, you can toss it. So always make an extra one. So I'm going to run this through the planer. This is the jig that I came up to help me with the hand planing of the legs to create that taper effect that I wanted. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting all the tenons for the support rail that ties the 4 legs together, and then all that will then be glued to the bottom portion of the table, which will have a Morrison tenon set up. I'll make more sense a little bit later on. All right, so we're getting closer to the finish line. This is probably the most complicated part of the build process. So what I'm doing here is obviously got the 4 posts for the legs, and then I'm going to have these rails here along the perimeter of the table, and this table is obviously upside down. And what I did is I'm going to cut I got a tenant, and then you can have a mortise cut into here at the bottom of the table, so that'll just snap right in there. And then the leg, once I cut the mortise out on the 2 sides here, that'll snap into there, and everything will hold together. There's no need for any type of nail. So just a bunch of cuts here so we can get a close-up of it. So here's your tenant, bunch of different cuts. I use the table saw for it, and this will be the groove in there. And then basically what I'll be using is this routing bit right here, which I'll end up then routing out a groove all around the perimeter of the table, so that I almost forgot. So what you got to do is you basically got to create the mortise into each of the legs. So this will be done on 2 of the sides for each of the legs. This is where the tenant will snap into the mortise, and they'll held together with glue. Now I can go back and do the routing on the bottom of the table, and I'll go around the perimeter, doing this for all 4 sides. So this is where the mortise and tenon will all snap together. And here's just a dry run to make sure everything snaps together and fits properly before gluing. So what I'm doing here is I'm gluing up the legs to the rails, get that secure, but I'm not gluing down the mortise and tenon into the table. And the reason for that is I won't be able to bring this up from my basement upstairs because between the size of the table, the diameter of it, or the width and length, and the height of the legs, I won't be able to get up the stairs. So I'm gonna have to glue this on separately, the table and this structure, once I have it upstairs, as opposed to doing it down here. So the legs are glued to the rails and everything's all set. I can bring this upstairs. One coat of the Osmo here. I left this dry because the glue is actually gonna go to these tenon and mortises here. And I got these pegs here. So I'll put the Osmo after. So here I'm doing the glue up process. I'm doing this obviously upstairs in our study. My wife was fine with that because we'll be tearing out this rug and painting this room in another month. So she's all too happy to accommodate me on this part of it. But anyways, so here just gluing everything up. All right, everything's all clamped up. Everything's square, use the level. And I'm gonna let this just sit here probably 2 days. Probably only needs 24 hours to adhere to the glue, but I'm gonna give it 2 days. Okay, I wanted to show here with the Osmo, I did half the table, just the top, and then the other half still has to be done. Not sure about the lighting. Unfortunately, I had to do this in my garage, as I explained earlier. I couldn't assemble this down in the basement because I would never be able to get it up. So I had to glue it upstairs. And then now I'm just applying the Osmo. Oh, this might be better right here. All right, I've applied 4 coats to the top with Osmo, and it was all done in the garage, and then moved it into the house and just let it sit and cure for 2 weeks. So here I'm just basically staging this in our kitchen. It's been in our house now for about 2 weeks in the study, just curing, and what I want to do is just show some different photos from different angles of the kitchen table. So you can see the black walnut up close, sandwiched between the 2 pieces of cherry in the legs, and then all the angles that I had to basically hand plane. And this is the final product. There are a few outtakes from this build. A lot of people like these, and I actually enjoy including them in the projects. Well, it's always important to secure the camera. I'm surprised I haven't broken my iPhone yet, but I'm working on it. So keep your eye at the center upper part of the video. There you go. There's all that dust. Now this has happened before on other projects, but this is the first time I actually captured it on video, so you can see the shop is just covered with dust, and I'll explain shortly what exactly happened. But it's so frustrating when this happened. It's such a mess. Well, that didn't work out too well. My dust collection is completely full. I don't know if you can see it. And then blew off the top, and then blew whatever dust and wood particles that's collected in there over the time all over the place. So instead of continue doing some more woodworking, I'm gonna have to let this settle, turn on the air filtration, and let it settle down, and then clean the shop. So there goes about 2 hours. It happens. What are you gonna do?
Welcome to Mauer Woodworking. I'm Walter Mauer. Today I'm going to be starting a brand new project. I'm going to be building a cherry kitchen table. It's going to be 42 inches square, 30 inches high, and an accent. All right. Ready? Yep.
Well, you made it through the entire video. Thank you. If you can do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe, I'd very much appreciate that. And leave a comment. Let me know what you liked about the project and also on the video, so I can improve on the next one that I produce. Thank you so much. Bye.